What y'all know about this? Let's get a little bit of this going on a Friday night. It's a celebration, Charlie Murphy. It's the Bass Pro Tour final day. You know what I'm saying? It's the final day Bass Pro Tour Championship round post-game show. Get the brown in your cup. Hold it up. Drink them down. Let's get it, y'all. We're about to have some fun tonight. Let's go. What y'all know about this song right here? We saw a lot of fat bottom girls this week out there on the old Goat Lake now. How about giving it up for the Goat family winning on the Goat Lake? We're going to talk about that tonight. We're going to recap what we saw out there on Lake Fork. Maybe the greatest bass fishing family of all time getting the W on the Goat Lake with some fat bottom girls that made the rock and bass fishing world go round. We having fun in the intro tonight, man. Hope you guys are doing great on East Texas or wherever you're at Friday night. It's nice and cold and crisp out there. We're about to have a good time. Cheers one more time, y'all. This is the Texas version of this song, by the way. This ain't Queen. This is Kevin Fowler. This is the officially Texas approved version of this song right here. We got to hear it one more time. Because our whole rockin' world went around this week, all based around some what? Yes, indeed. They definitely do. Gotta love the fact that my man Kevin Fowler took a song by Queen and introduced some pedal steel to it. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, if you're from Texas and you don't like that, like, I don't know if we can be friends. I'm not real sure. We're live on both platforms, man. I got YouTube on my left. I got Facebook on my right. I apologize if I'm looking at both of y'all at the same time. I can't do that thing with my eyes go different ways. What a freaking tournament. One for the books. I don't know that they did a good enough job. Here I go, being critical of MLF and their coverage again. I don't know that they did a good enough job of really showcasing and explaining to those that may not know what we just saw. Some of the tougher conditions that you can face. Guys, do y'all realize that water temps went from as high as 62, 63 to 42? 20-degree water temp changes in the backs of some of these creeks they were fishing during an event. Do y'all know how difficult that makes it to make a bass bite? Like, I don't think everybody understands that. Like, if you haven't had the luxury of being on the water when water changes 10 degrees in 2 days, that's when most guys go out in zero. Like, most guys, zero in those conditions. What we just saw and what these guys did is some of the most unbelievable display of angling prowess that we will ever see. This was one of the truest tests of the anglers. And I'm a little disappointed in the MLF coverage because they did not do a great job. I don't feel like they didn't really go into detail on that. They didn't exaggerate it enough, explain it enough, because these were exaggerated circumstances. These were incredible circumstances these guys were dealing with. And the fact that they caught what they caught says a lot about the lake, but 100% says a ton about the anglers of the Bass Pro Tour. That was unbelievable. I was watching that today just with my jaw open the whole time. Like, they're catching them. And not everybody was catching them. Most of those guys were struggling, didn't catch very many fish. But, dude, man, we saw some good fish catches today. And 45 total pounds. Man, unless a dude caught several 8 or 9 pounders, I would have never guessed we would have been to 45, 46 pounds. To get there, I would have assumed you would have had to have multiple 8, 9, 10 pound fish. Where you get like half of it in 2 fish. Like, that's what I would have thought would have. I didn't picture anybody catching as many fish as those guys caught. That was impressive. 20-degree tip swing in 6 or 7 days. That's wild. That's just insane. So, kudos to those guys, to everybody in this field. It was an unbelievably fun event. They caught 5 double-digit bass. Jeremiah, I see your question. They caught 5 double-digit bass at this event. I think that's the first time we've seen 5 double-digit bass in a professional level, tour-level event. The only one, maybe the Clear Lake, the old Bassmaster Clear Lake tournament had 5, but this might have been the first time we've seen 5 double-digit bass get caught in a single tour-level event. So, Another kudos to the anglers, but I think that one kind of goes more to Lake Fork. Like that one's a little bit more, hey, Goat Lake, you know what I mean? Like Goat Lake just doing goat things out there, matting around, doing this deal. So just an awesome, awesome week. Every time, Bassmaster, Major League Fishing, Bass Pro Tour, whatever, guys of that caliber, which I do think they're equal at this point. I think we can call it a coin flip between the two rosters at this point. Every time they come here, I learn. I learn so much. I actually just hosted a seminar at Lake Fork Marina, came straight from that. That's why we're so late after the action tonight, so I apologize for that, but we had to do that. And Ryan Salzman did a call-in with us at the seminar. He talked to the people in attendance at the seminar on the phone, and I learned something while I was talking to him. I mean, these guys are just – that's why we're all here, right? That's why we watch fishing social media content. That's why we grew up watching Bill Dance and Hank Parker, and we're trying to learn something. And, man, with these guys, boy, do you have the opportunity to learn a lot. Ryan Salzman had a great week. I know he didn't fish today, so we won't go too in-depth on his deal, but what a great dude, man. Gave your Lake Fork Guy Nation a shout-out. Can't appreciate that enough. Can't thank him enough for that. Participated in the seminar with us tonight over the phone the best he could. He's actually under the weather after fishing in the cold and the rain all week and the wind, so can't thank him enough. Please go follow Ryan Salzman. You can find him at Alabama Bass Guide on Facebook. You can find him at ALBass_meme lord on Instagram. There's a good story behind that. And then on TikTok, he's at Ryan Salzman. So go check Ryan Salzman out. Listen, all of your Lake Fork Guy Nation needs to get behind that guy. He gave us a lot of credit this week, and he didn't need to. He didn't have to. Greatly appreciate that. So please go follow Ryan Salzman. All right. Let's get into, first I just want to talk about Alton Jr., and I want to talk about Alton Sr., and I'll talk about what we just saw. That's why I don't think the covers did a good enough job explaining these things. I didn't once hear them say, this is the first time ever we've seen 5 double-digit bass in a tour-level event. It is. First time. But to my knowledge, it is. Certainly the first time in many, 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 many years, right? For sure that. I mean, you just don't see 5 double-digit bass caught in a tournament. It doesn't happen. We just saw that. This is the first time in the history of bass fishing that we've seen a father and son competing in the top 10, not even the top 10, but the top 5 on the final day of the tournament. The only ones that I can think of that might have done something similar were Guido and Dion Hibden, but I don't ever remember seeing them. On the same final day at the same time in the top 10 competing. So what we just saw with Alton Sr. and Alton Jr., that's never really been done, guys. Another thing that makes this event one for the books. Now, here's what I would say. Is the Joneses the greatest tournament bass fishing family of all time? Are they the GOAT family of tournament bass fishing? I'm going to go ahead and say, even though Alton Jr.'s only won one, I'm going to say yes. They have to be, and here's why I say that. Alton Jones Sr. is obviously one of the greatest anglers of a generation. He's one of the, he's up there. You got KVD. I agree, like Jacob Wheeler's number one in the world right now and all that, and Jacob Wheeler eventually probably will be better than Alton, but Alton's done more than Jacob Wheeler has right now. Like, Jacob still has some boxes to check before he beats Alton. But you got like KVD and a couple other guys, and like Alton Jones is like there. Like, he's the best, one of the best of a generation. He's in the top handful of guys of a generation. To have a guy be that good and have his son get a win on the top level of tour competition at this early of an age, let's go ahead and just call it. Let's call it, well, yep, okay. My bad, folks. I forgot one, and I don't know how I forgot it. Roland and Scott Martin. My bad, folks. Forgot that. Second greatest of all time is the Joneses. I don't know how I didn't think of the Martins. Roland Martin, golly, he's one of the greatest of all time. And Scott Martin has won FLW Cups, Forcewood Cups, Angler of the Year on FLW Tour, and he's on the Elite Series now. Yep. The Martins get it. The Martins get the nod. But the Joneses are number 2. The Joneses are number 2. That was just super cool, man. Super cool. You could hear more hear than see, but you could hear in Alton's tone of voice when they were asking him questions today that especially once Junior got into the lead, Alton didn't really care if he won. Like, he wanted his son to win this one, which as a father, I've got 2 sons. I'll tell you right now, as competitive as I am, I don't know what I would have done in that situation. Like, let's just say that Alton made a run, right, and was about to catch his son. Like, if that was my kids, I'm not sure that I wouldn't have checked up. I mean, part of me says I wouldn't, but part of me, like, I'd have had to think about it for a minute. Like, I might have checked up to try to let him win. Like, I don't know if Alton would have done that if he was put in that situation. Probably not. That's probably why he's a world-class competitor, and I'm not. But, man, you could just tell in his voice he really wanted his kid to win. He really wanted his kid to win. So that was really special. The wrap-up, the picture that we used for the thumbnail on YouTube, the family all being there, that was really special as well. You see Alton Jr. and his, I think it's his wife, maybe, I don't know if it's his wife or not, but you see Alton Sr. and Alton Jr.'s mother and his wife all pictured together on the thumbnail. Golly, dude, that's like, what a special, special moment. Can you imagine that? For all of you that have children out there, just think about that for a second. This is your dream occupation. You've had this great, phenomenal career. You're going into the Hall of Fame. You've lived this life and you've worked very hard and sacrificed time with Alton Jr. when he was a kid and all that. And now to have your son following your footsteps and not only win, but win while you're in the field, as well as you're a top 10 on the final day with him and you get to witness his accomplishment firsthand like that. Like, it's one of the most special moments we've probably, family-wise, maybe the most special moment we've ever seen. We didn't get to see that ever with Roland and Scott, ever. We didn't get to really see that with Guido and Dion. How do I remember the Hibdons but not remember the Martins? Boy, I had a major brain fart on that. Major brain fart on that one. Oh, well, it happens. I'm a fishing guy, folks. Never claimed to be one of the smartest guys on earth. But my favorite moment of the entire event, there were so many great moments in this event. Obviously, Ryan Salzman giving the shout-out to you, Lake Fork guide, was really cool. Somebody told me Adrian Avina gave us a shout-out. Unfortunately, I was guiding that day, and I was on another lake guiding, and I did not see either one of those live. I didn't actually witness what they said or anything like that, but I got the report. And somebody said Adrian Avina gave us a shout-out too. Thank you, Adrian Avina. That is freaking amazing, dude. That's awesome. As cool as that was to have your Lake Fork guide mentioned on Bass Pro Tour live coverage, that's pretty freaking cool. Big deal for me. Big deal for me personally. It means so much to me that those guys respect what I do. I've worked very, very, very hard, and I've sacrificed I get less views. My content, my platform stays smaller because I want to do content the right way, and I want to do content that matters to me, that would matter to me if I was the guy still working the weekday job and fishing once a week. And the fact that these guys trust the information I give and respect it, about the biggest compliment I can get, because they're the best in the world. So that's awesome. Anyways, so there's many cool moments. I really enjoyed Dakota Eber, his run, what he did. I thought he was the most consistent angler throughout the tournament and probably should have won the event. He just ran out of fish today. He pushed hard to try and catch Alton Sr. on day 2 of his group day and burnt some fish. He pushed hard in the knockout stage, and he just ran out of fish. Just ran out of fish. That's all there was to it, man. That guy was the most consistent angler this week. Jacob Wheeler, I think having the extra day off may have hurt him. We're actually supposed to talk to Jacob, so I can ask him about that on Sunday's podcast on the YouTube channel, which some of you are watching on right now. Some of you are watching on Facebook. We will talk about that. It was a shame to see, as good as dominant as Jacob Wheeler was, that he just couldn't quite find it the same way today with the big weather. Like the last time Jacob Wheeler fished on Lake Fork, totally different conditions. The water temps have changed drastically. So what he did today, honestly, was probably even more impressive than what he did earlier in the tournament. The fact that he was able to catch him after so many changing conditions and not being allowed to consume any information or watch any of the coverage and couldn't get on the lake, like, that's really impressive what he did today, that he got as close as he did. Dakota Eber was close, man, and he's a rookie. He's a Texas guy. In all honesty, I mean, Alton Jr.'s Texas guy too. I was kind of pulling for Eber. The Rayburn guys have a soft spot in my heart. That's where I grew up, down there in Conroe. Fished Rayburn a lot as a kid. So the Rayburn guys always have a soft spot in my heart right outside of the Fort guys. So outside of a Fort guy, I would have loved to see a Rayburn guy win it. So I was pulling for old Dakota Eber, especially with him being a rookie. That would have been so amazing. We had so many options. And the coolest part is, with it being Lake Fork and being so many big bass, there was 4 guys at the end, 3 guys really, realistically, but 4 guys, because you can't catch a 10-pounder on fork at any time, but realistically 3 guys that were a bite away. Like, for the last 5 minutes, nobody caught a bass. The last 5 minutes left, nobody caught a bass. Yet I was like this. Like, I was staring at my phone. Like, for 5 minutes, I was like, holding my breath, because Wheeler catches a 6-pounder at any moment. He's in the lead. Eber catches anything, any keeper at any moment, he's in the lead. Alton catches anything at any moment, he stretches his lead. Like, even though there wasn't a fish catch, that format is phenomenal for that, because it just keeps you on the edge of your toes, man. It's unbelievable format, really good. All that being said, so many great moments this week. The best moment had nothing to do with a fish catch. If you watch the closing of live coverage today when Junior sealed the deal, and you watched his reaction and his emotion, that's not money. He thinks about fishing for $100,000 and the glory and the prestige that comes with that. That's not money. That's none of that. That's none of that prestige, none of the glory. None of that is what matters. What you saw at the end of today's live coverage was, this is a guy that grew up in this world. His father is Alton Jones. He grew up in this bass fishing world. He's loved it since he was born, just like many of us have. He's had more exposure to it than the rest of us, but he's loved it. He's respected it. It's been his life's ambition, not only to get to this level, but to win at this level. And this guy, he had tears in his eyes. And he's even talked about how he used to make fun of the guys who cried when they won, and here he was crying. And I'm going to be real with you guys. I was watching that, and as a dude who's, like, I've sacrificed a lot to build what I have in the fishing world. Like, a lot. I sacrificed a lot of time with my kids for several years. Not nearly as much as these guys have, but I did my own sacrificing and to build my dream job too. So I understand a little bit of how that feels. And I was watching this culminating moment of Alton Jr. I had tears in my eyes. Like, I was a little emotional for him. It was just this great moment. The reality is, most of us start fishing with our fathers, and we have this deep-seated passion for this sport, and we have this overwhelming sense of peace that comes to us on the water. And a lot of us are just good old boys that like to compete and try to work hard and be good at what we do. And so for all that to culminate, all that work and all that time on the water when nobody's watching, when nobody knows anything, and you're grinding, you're trying a new technique, and you're fishing the cold days when nobody's on the water, and you got ice in your guides, and you're just trying to figure out how to catch a bass in those, all that for all the years of his life comes together and culminates in this moment, and he gets to share it with his father and his family, and he's just achieved a lifelong goal. It's what makes all sports so great, but even fishing is just, there's nothing like fishing. There's just nothing like fishing. Not for me. And that was by far, hands down, my favorite moment of the entire event. It was unbelievable. It was really, truly great moment. I hope you guys got as much pleasure, or half as much pleasure out of it as I did, because it was awesome. Yeah, Alton Sr. kept saying his head was spinning with his son in first. I can only imagine. Like, only imagine. Only imagine. Which one of those guys mentioned the guarantee tree? That would be Ryan Salzman. Ryan Salzman called the guarantee tree the guarantee tree. So if you guys watch the content leading up to this, we dropped a couple of videos where we caught some fish on jigs and creek bends. And we have a tree on Lake Fork that I have dubbed the guarantee tree because I can't do that. I can't split my eyes. Cody Mays is trying to get me to look at both cameras at the same time. I can't do it. So the guaranteed tree is this tree that for years, this time of year, when they get on that jig bite, I can pull up to this one tree on Lake Fork, and I mean every single day I'm getting a bite on it. At least one, and it's always a good one. Like every once in a while we'll catch a little one. Usually it's a good one. Like 4 pounds plus at least. And I can get one bite on it for sure. Most of the time it's at least 2 bites. I've caught as many as 5 on that one tree in a row. 5 casts in a row. So we call it the guarantee tree. Because I've had days this winter in the morning time when I got on a little stretch when we were filming those jig videos, and right before that, where in the morning time we wouldn't really catch anything. We'd get 1 or 2 bites by lunch, but then after lunch we'd catch them. But even when we weren't getting bites in the morning, I could pull up the old guarantee tree. Like if we had a bite 2 or 3 hours in the morning before we go to lunch, we'd roll up the guarantee tree. I'd be like, all right, throw by that tree. You're about to get a bite, dog. Like it's coming. So that's the history of the name guarantee tree. We came up with that on this channel just because we knew we could go. It's a guarantee. You're going to get a bite on that tree. Well, Ryan Salzman said that he watched a lot of our content, and he said he watched every pre-spawn video that I've made for the last 4 years on Lake Forks, what he said today, which is really cool, really honoring, really humbling. That's really cool. But during the tournament, he goes, that's the guarantee tree. Like as he just caught like a 5-pounder on it, he referred to it as the guarantee tree. So that was really cool, really, really cool. Ryan Salzman's the one that referred to guarantee tree. And he's the only one I saw fish it during the event. Casey Ashley caught a train load off of one dock. Yes, he did. He caught a ton off of one dock, and it was in an area of the lake that I would not even think to be in. I didn't even know there was water still up there. Dude, Casey Ashley was up the lake, Jack. I did not know there was literally did not know there was water to put your boat in up there with the lake being 6 foot low where he was. Vic Pearsall says, I've seen it. Facts. Vic was with me in one of those videos. We were struggling. We had gotten one bite that morning fishing creek channels, and right before lunch, I took us up there and said, we're going to Guarantee Tree. Right after lunch, right around lunch, I said, listen, we going up here to Guarantee Tree. You're going to throw over here to the left side of this tree, you're going to get bit. And the guy that I had with us, I had him throw to it with me and Vic, and he caught 2 in a row right there, and then I threw in there and caught a third one. So Vic has seen it go down. Did I hear about Josh Jones's buddy catching a 17-pounder? I sure did. Yeah, I did. Absolutely, I did. Listen, I don't want to get off on a Josh Jones conversation, although it's warranted. But this live stream I want to keep about the Bass Pro Tour event. We will talk about Josh Jones in future content. Right now, tonight, we've got this live stream. This is the post-game show for Bass Pro Tour for the final day. There's so much for us to talk about. Let's talk about that. Tomorrow, our seminar that we just did tonight is going to air tomorrow evening. And then Sunday, we'll have a podcast with Jacob Wheeler. And at some point in that podcast, we'll talk about the 17-pounder from Ivy and Josh Jones and his involvement or not involvement or whatever. There's some controversy there. I think it's overblown, but I'll explain to you guys what happened there and why people just need to calm the hell down. Forward-facing sonar has been a game changer. It has been a game changer, but, you know, what Alton Jr. was doing today is not really a forward-facing sonar deal. Like, he was seeing some of them, but, I mean, he was shallow cranking around a shallow creek channel. That's what he was doing. He was shallow cranking around a shallow creek channel. Dusty Newton said he's glad them boys are gone, though. He's ready to get back out. Hey, I hear you, dog. Like, I'm going to get to run my guide trips on Fork this week. I'm excited about that. I'm with you there. I'm ready to get back on Fork myself. And we're going to have some pretty good weather next week. We are. It's not going to be a huge warm trend or anything until maybe the end of the week, possibly. But we are going to have some decent weather, some stable weather anyway. What did I do? What did I do? How about that? How about that? Mainly referring to Zach B and eBay. Yeah. So there were some guys live scoping. Obviously, there were some guys live scoping that did really well. eBay almost won at live scoping with a jerkbait all day. And he started this tournament throwing a jig on a creek channel. I got to do a little selfish promotion here. We're going to get right back to the live scope conversation because I want to discuss that with you guys because that's not something we can all just go do. I need you guys to be aware of that. Like what these guys are doing, what Josh Jones does, what Ben Milliken does, what we saw Dakota Ebear doing, what we saw Jacob Wheeler doing. Who was the other one we just mentioned? Zach Burge. Like what we see these guys doing is not something we're just going to go do. Just be aware of that. You're not going to go do that. Before we get to that, I want to do a little selfish plug because it's something we've worked really hard on over the years, and I'm very, very proud of for me and my partners that are involved in this. But this was another huge week for the Fishlife app. And the life is spelled with a Y, L-Y-F-E. That tournament, where Alton Jones Jr. won that event today, there has been 2 to 3 waypoints in that area of that creek arm since December. The last tour level event, Bassmaster Elite Series, that Lee Livesey won with 42 pounds on Sunday, where he won that tournament with 42 pounds on Sunday, there was a waypoint on, that was at the end of April. There was a waypoint on there from March 1st to the end of April for 2 months. You guys realize that y'all can subscribe to the Fishlife app? And I'm not telling you these guys are using the Fishlife app to find these places. I would never try to insult them or think that they needed my help. What I'm telling you is you get the best anglers on planet Earth on a body of water, and they're going to find the best stuff. And the ones that win end up on the same stuff that's featured on the Fishlife app. What I'm telling you is that you can go subscribe to the premium packages of the Fishlife app on the lake of your choice and know that you're on the very best stuff on that lake, that the very best anglers in the world will be fishing the same exact thing that you're now fishing. This is unprecedented in the world of bass fishing. Nobody's ever done anything like what we do with that. There's other fishing apps out there, but it's not like that. It's not even close. There's never been anything that stays current and updates the way we do. There's never been anything where every lake involves somebody that's on that water full time giving you the best info. Like, the Fishlife app is the real deal. It is beyond, way beyond any other learning tool that you will ever find in the world of bass fishing. There's nothing else like it. And I know Alton has his educational app, and I'm sure it's great. But there's nothing, not a thing, like the Fishlife app where you've got dudes on the water full time giving you the best spots on the lake every month. It's why we have had so many people that have used it have come back and told us, best day of my life, new personal best, won this tournament, won that tournament, using the app. I cannot even begin to count the number of double-digit fish that people have caught using the Fishlife app. Most of whom, the vast majority of whom, never caught double-digit fish till they use the app. There's a guy in the chat right now who has made some serious tournament money on overs on Lake Fork using the Fishlife app. It's Roger Nixon. He'll tell you all in the comments. He's cashed some big checks on it. And it just one of the guys out of the couple hundred that are in these two chats right now, he's one of the guys. He's cashed checks. It's one of the things I can be a little bit arrogant about. We've killed it at that. Like, we have done something that is not done anywhere else. It's special. What are all the lakes in the app? So in the premium packages, let me see if I can remember them all. We have Lake Fork, of course. We have our East Texas power plant lakes. Roger Nixon, there he is. I have 40-plus pound stringer with the Fishlife app. Lake Fork, East Texas, we have a joint lake package with East Texas power plant lakes. So we have Welsh, Brandy Branch, and Martin Creek on that one. We have Lake of the Pines. We have Lake Palestine. We have Sam Rayburn. We have the south end of Toledo Bend, which is Pendleton Bridge South. We have Ray Roberts. We have a joint package with Louisville and Grapevine. We have a joint package with Ray Hubbard and Lake Lavon. We have more than I'm forgetting. Texoma is another one. We have OH Ivy. We've got former FLW Tour Pro Chase Brooks does our package at OH Ivy. Now listen, Chase is on board. He's all about the Fishlife app, and he has his own social media platform that he uses to market it out there in West Texas at OH Ivy. So if you want to go hit the trophy lake of all trophy lakes right now and you want some help, go get the Fishlife app for OH Ivy by FLW Pro Chase Brooks. But, the reality is what we're doing is somewhat controversial in the world of fishing. Like, you're not supposed to give up your spots, right? Like, especially not your good spots, right? So a lot of these guys, we don't want to put their name out there because we don't want to cause them any unnecessary strife. And we only put the lakes on there where we have a great partner on the package. What I will tell you is the app is completely free to download. So go download it, scroll through the premium list of packages, and if there's a lake on there that you want to fish, you do your best to go ahead and subscribe to it. And while I am sitting here telling you guys that I'm not trying to say that these Bass Pro Tour guys and Elite Series guys are using, the ones that win are using the app to fish it. That's not what I'm saying. I will tell you that I know for a fact that several of them, a lot of them do subscribe to the app. I do know that for a fact. When they come fish these tournaments here, they subscribe to it. Is there Fishlife spots on Toledo Bend? Yes, sir. From the Pendleton Bridge south, we have Fishlife spots on Toledo Bend. We have 20 waypoints on Toledo Bend that get updated every month from Pendleton Bridge south. Any plans on Toledo Bend north of the bridge? Not right now. The deal is we're really, really picky. This is why the information is so good and why when these guys show up, they're always on our spots. We're really, really picky about the partners that we use on these individual lakes. We don't just take anybody. We don't just accept anybody. It has to be somebody that we know is a good angler, obviously. Somebody that's on the water all the time, obviously. But it's also going to be somebody that we trust is willing to give up the goods. That's hard to find. So we only have a limited amount of lakes on it. And we're not, listen, we charge more than everybody else for our packages, individual packages. That's because we're giving you better info and there's a lot more work that goes into it. And we have to make it worth these guys' while at some point. But we're not interested in making this a multi-million-dollar company. Well, that's not what we're trying to do. We don't care. We don't care how much money it makes. It makes money for us, and that's great. But that's just an added bonus. What we're doing is trying to make sure that when you subscribe to the Fishlife app, you know without a doubt, 100%, this is the very best info that you'll ever find. You're not going to find anything else close to this on the market. And we feel very certain that we've done that at this point. It's been proven in top-level events that we've done that. I mean, when the tour-level events come here, the winners fish on Fishlife spots. That's the way it works. Not that they're using it. Don't know where they aren't. Some are, some aren't. But we know they end up on Fishlife spots. That's proven. That's fact. Do you believe big bass are becoming harder to run into in Lake Fork than they used to be? No. No, I don't. I mean, harder for the everyday angler, possibly, is technology, as anglers get better. The reality is anglers are better now than they've ever been. With the average guy that goes out on the weekend and fishes, just with Navionics improvements alone, is better than he used to be. Much better than he used to be. So as anglers become better, more fish get caught. Fish that didn't used to get fished for with live scope are now getting caught. So for the average everyday guy, is it harder to catch fish in general? Yes. As far as the average size fish that comes out of Lake Fork, unless you want to go all the way back to the 90s when Lake Fork was at its peak, I don't think it's any worse now than it's ever been. I think it's just as good now as it's ever been. I mean, criminy, look at what they just did on the average size fish they caught. I think it's the same as it's always been as far as the average size fish catch. I think it's just harder to catch fish in general, not just on Lake Fork, on all lakes. It's getting harder to catch fish. Guys are getting better. More young guys are fishing at a much higher level and more often. I mean, the sport's growing, guys. That's what's happening. You got a limited resource, and there's more people taking advantage of it. Tim Beaver says, I used the app, and this is crazy. I used the app and caught fish first time on fork and first cast on first spot of the day. I had some guys roll up to me in the creek channel where we were fishing the other day, just see me and talk to me. They just got there. They're from out of state. They came down. First spot they fished on the app, 9-pounder. I mean, just it's not going to happen for everybody like that, but it happens like that. Do I mark the Fishlife spots with bananas? No, that's another thing that happened this week that was freaking hilarious. I don't know who put the bananas out, but that's some funny stuff, dude. That's freaking funny. Why didn't MLF do the aerial position of each pro like they do on other lakes? Probably because it would have just been a screenshot of the Fishlife app, and they didn't want to screw me like that. I'm kidding. That's a joke. It's a joke. There was literally times, though, like in the knockout round, it was like the top 10 were all on Fishlife spots. Like all of them. It was so funny. And there were guys that caught them good in this event on certain days that weren't on Fishlife spots, to be honest with you. There was guys that caught them good, not on. Hey, Jacob Wheeler wasn't on anything on Fishlife. I don't know. Man, Jacob Wheeler was places I wouldn't even think he'd be fishing. That brings me back to the live scope discussion. Let's talk about it. I don't know, like, what Jacob Wheeler was doing, and Dakota Eber basically just went through an entire creek arm for most of the tournament, catching fish. Do y'all realize what these guys are doing and how good they are? Especially considering how much wind there was. With as much wind as came on during this tournament, I was like, there's no way these guys are going to live sonar these fish. And they did. It's just mind-boggling. If you really have done this, like if you've tried the main lake, standing timber, finding fish, throwing a jerkbait at them and watching them bite it deal. If you've tried that on main lake stuff in the wind, without the wind, it's tough. With the wind, I'm like, I don't even try. I'm like, forget this, dude, we're going over here. Part of that's because I'm a guide. And for a guide, it's not realistic for a guide customer to be able to hit that target and be that precise with his cast and understand. It's not a realistic thing for guiding. Unless you're Jack York. He's the only one I know that does it with guide customers. And Jack York's probably as good as most of these guys are with live sonar. Like, he's been doing it early on. But, man, what these guys are doing with that live sonar, it's not something you can realistically expect to go out and learn how to do if you're just a normal dude that fishes a couple days a week. It takes so much time to dial that deal in and be that precise with your casting on that narrow cone that live sonar has, and to hold your boat position just right and drift at the right angle and lead fish. That's part of it. I mean, these guys that are doing this are just, this is a skill level that it takes. Anybody thinks live sonar is cheating or too easy, you ain't never tried to do it, dude. Like, it's very difficult. It does show you fish in areas that we normally wouldn't think to fish. That's for sure. It shows you fish that we normally they're outside of the textbook of bass fishing. They're just main lake timber, suspended fish, not necessarily sitting on anything obvious. And these guys are taking advantage of those fish that aren't seeing baits. That part makes it easier. But the ability and the actual physical skill that it requires to execute the way these guys do, a whole nother level. Unless you're going to commit yourself to do that and do it several days a week, you're not going to be able to do what they're doing. It's thoroughly impressed me how good they are at it. It's mind-blowing, really. Do I have live scope? I have active target. I have Lowrance active target. I've tried both. I thought active target had a little cleaner image, so I went with active target. But yeah, I have live sonar. Yes, I do. It's very impractical for bass guiding, in my opinion. Cameron was asking, do I have live scope? I do. I have active target. Cameron, I didn't even know you were in here, buddy. Appreciate you joining us. Renner's one of them old hammers nobody really knows about. Like, well, outside of all the local guys know about it, but old Doug Renner's one of them dudes that can flat out catch them. And Cameron Burnett is one of the better crappie guides you will ever run across out of Lake Fork Marina, man. Good people right there. How many hours would you say you would need to be proficient with live sonar? That's a difficult question. A lot of these questions that we have about fishing stuff, like guys are like, "What's your best bait?" I'm like, "Well, no, I need more than one. Like it depends on conditions and weather and wind and all that stuff, right?" Same thing with live sonar, right? Like when I first got live sonar, if I could power pole down in a shallow enough area, I could do the live sonar deal pretty good. But the drifting the boat around in any kind of wind and looking at fish on trees and staying with them, I don't even have a clue how many hours to tell you it would require for you to be proficient at it. It's a lot. All of them. That's how many it is. It's all of them. Like you got to commit to it. And you got to just, especially if you're a dude that only gets to fish a couple days a week, you better only do that. And you better be ready to suck for a long time. It's just, man, I don't know, man. It's a lot of hours. Renner, many do not know that. Yeah, Burnett was out there. Cameron Burnett is actually the son of Dana Donahue, the owner of Lake Fork Marina, and that joker has caught some giant bass out of Lake Fork. And I have seen that guy over the wintertime. Now he's kind of focused on, it seems like he's more focused on the crappie guiding deal, and that's how he makes his money. But when he was first starting crappie guiding, and even before that, I've seen that guy do nothing but try to catch the biggest bass in the lake in the winter, and he did it. Like, he caught some giants. Like, that cat's caught some really big bass out of Lake Fork. Cameron Burnett, and Cameron's a crappie guide. He's spent a ton of time on live scope with crappie, which crappie is a little easier to do than bass, I believe. I don't know. I'm not a crappie guy. I don't fish crappie, but I've heard crappie are easier to target and execute on than bass are. But here's great input. Cameron says, you'll spend 6 months learning your mechanics. Just this part. Just keeping the bait on the screen, keeping the fish just mechanics. As a dude who's got a guide and film content and put fish in the boat every day, I haven't had that 6 months. And I've had the live sonar for over a year now, right at a year now, and I haven't had that 6 months. And it's going to take me forever to get that 6 months. I don't have my mechanics right. I can tell you I'm not a great live sonar fisherman. When it's real calm and they just sit still, yeah, I can do it a little bit, like when it's easy, when anybody can do it. But the reality is 90% of the days, that's not how it is. It's a challenge, and there is some skill, some real skill to it. It is fun. Let me put that. It's a ton of, it seems like something I should really get into because I just can't be in a guide, like a bass fishing guide. It's not practical for bass fishing customers, in my opinion. And I thoroughly enjoy the moment when I see a fish react to a bait on the screen and eat it. Like, when I see that fish come up to my bait and I get him to bite and then I catch, that is every bit as cool as sight fishing is to me. So I thoroughly enjoy it. And when I first got it, I thought I was really going to get into it. And that was when I started out just being power poled down in shallow water looking at them. And I really enjoyed the catches I got. And then I started getting frustrated by all the fish that wouldn't bite. Then I started trying to do it in deeper water. I was like, dude, this ain't going to be my deal. Like this, I don't have time to dial this in. This is too advanced for me. I cannot afford to spend weeks not catching them, months not catching them until I figure this out. I just can't do it. So for me, it hasn't been a thing that's really played practically into my fishing abilities. I spend most of my time, honestly, with it off at this point. In the right moments, I use it, and I do use it to search for things. I use it to search, like when I'm offshore, I use it to locate exactly where the school's positioned. That's very, very handy. But it's difficult. It's difficult. It's fun when you pull it off, though. A lot of fun when you pull it off. And I can do it a little bit. I could probably do it better than your average weekend angler can. Maybe a little bit better, but I'm nowhere near as good as a lot of these guys. Do I use perspective mode? I do not use perspective mode. I want to know the depth of that fish so I can keep my bait at the right depth. I do not ever use perspective mode. Cheers, y'all. It's the post-game show. Let's get it. Am I still planning to put it on the new boat? Absolutely. Absolutely. I'll put it on every boat I have. It is an invaluable tool at locating fish, locating cover. Just for me, like to sit there and look at them on screen drift around the lake, it's not practical being a fishing guide. There's nothing else that shows you the real-time feedback and knowledge, like the information it gives you. There's nothing else like it. And I'll have 360 on every boat because it's invaluable too. I will always have 360 and live sonar on the front deck of my boat until something better comes along. So, guys, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap the post-game show up, man. You know what I'm saying? It's time. It's time to wrap it up. Let's do a little something here. Hang on just 1 second. I've enjoyed talking to y'all tonight on a Friday night. It's been a good one. It's been a really, really good one. Hey, thank you guys for all the support. You know, like we said, Ryan Salzman, Adrian Avina, these guys, they're watching Your Lake Fork Guide. They wouldn't even know Your Lake Fork Guide existed. Your Lake Fork Guide would not exist if it wasn't for all you guys that continue to watch. Hit the thumbs up, share this thing, subscribe, do all that good stuff that we do on social media. Man, you guys have changed my life. Y'all have changed my daggum life. You really have. And I just can't ever thank y'all enough. And we'll keep working hard to help you catch more and bigger fish. That's about the best way I know to thank you. Because hey, ain't nobody got no problems when they hooked up on a fish. You know what I mean? Big or small, it don't matter. You set the hook on a fish, you're reeling them in. There is not a problem in your life at that moment. And that's what this is all about. Catching more and bigger fish and getting rid of all them problems in life. Let's take it out with a little bit more of this right here. Yeah, boy. It is Friday night. It's time. It's Texas. It's Friday night. It's time to go honky tonkin'. Hell yeah. Cheers, y'all. It's been you. It's been me. It's been a live stream. Get the brown in your cup. Hold it up. Drink it down. Them fat bottom girls. They ruled the world this week at Lake Fork, didn't they? We'll see you guys next time right here on Your Lake Fork Guide.